sitting here in Sanctum Forge boxing gym and have the incredible opportunity to have a long time brother and friend, Nathan Carnage Corbett, who's 10-time Muay Thai World Champion. Traveling the world now, living his dream, inspiring people, doing seminar after seminar from here to there and all over the place. So in Australia at the moment doing seminars, and about to go to Melbourne. And the first time he stepped into my gym to have a look, because he's been in the States, and now you're back in Australia. So we were just talking about inspiration. We're talking about the new generation of fighter, how different it is to our generation, and origins, where people started from, and what inspired people to get started. Yes. So tell us a little bit about your story. Like, how did you start? What inspired you to walk into a gym?
Well, what inspired me to walk into a gym was more or less the whole, I call it the Karate Kid story, which was like, a friend hit me out of jealousy because of this or that, and I was like, oh, what's that all about? And I wanted to dive into, if that ever happened again, I could do something about it, and then found karate and found Muay Thai and so forth. But what I really wanted to skip to and push straight forward to the conversation today is, it's been 4.5 years since I moved to America. It's been 3 years since I've been able to get back here. 2 years been blocked, of course, with the whole pandemic, so it's great to be home. And one of the things on my list was to obviously come and see Paul and his gym. I've been watching in the background through Instagram, all the success here and the boxers coming through here, and Tim Zoo doing his camps here and stuff. But also, Paul's been having these interviews with the old fighters of the past about what can the old fighter, or mentality, teach the new mentality, or the new fighter, and give them some kind of thing. And a lot of the things that I've been hearing is basically, just hard work and just basically shutting up, just doing the job overall, just getting it done and not so much like that. So then that circles back around to my journey and the reason why I am who I am, the fighter I am today, and people that inspired me to be the fighter I am today. So it's this man here, the Hurricane. It's not Paul Briggs, it's the Hurricane. That's what you need to remember. It's the Hurricane. People forget that. They think it's just Paul Briggs. No, it's the Hurricane, Paul Briggs. And no one would mess with this man. Inside, outside the ring, that doesn't even matter. We're talking about inside the ring right now. And they need to understand who this man is. So when I was young, we're I think 5 or 6 years apart, so I was obviously young teenager and loving Muay Thai, and I found the Hurricane and I started watching his fights, and I was even sitting there with my dad, and my dad pointed out to me and said, this is a real fighter. Because there's fighters that can fight, they can move, they can do all the techniques, and they can do all the cool things that makes you look like a fighter, and then there's fighters. And Paul Briggs, the Hurricane, is a fighter. Of course, he has the skills to match any fighter, but also he has this different depth of internal power. So when I saw that, I was attracted to that, and I wanted that. Years later, I had the blessing to train in the same gym with Paul, and it was only about a 6 to 8 month period where he got back into kickboxing, and then he crossed over to boxing. So I got a 6 month window of his kickboxing career, and he soon jumped over to boxing, and I had the pleasure of doing some sparring, doing some rounds, mind you, getting my nose smashed by the Hurricane and taking a licking and getting on with it. You know what I mean? That's okay. They were phenomenal opponents, phenomenal sparring partners, and of course, I was nowhere near their level, but the mentality, the attitude, every fight was to finish the opponent. Every fight was technical brutality. That's what it was. It was technical, but at the same time, they had the intention to take that person out. We're not here to score points. We're here to take the person out. And that's the Hurricane right there. That says it all. So he inspired me to be Carnage. So through that inspiration of that style of fighting, I learned how to punch. I learned how to use my strikes. And in Muay Thai, we don't box, we punch. It's a different sport. and Paul could back that up, that boxing's boxing, and Muay Thai kickboxing is a different style of throwing the hands. It looks the same, but it's a little different. So you become a puncher more than a boxer. And my hands become phenomenal. Brad Fricali, one of the guys in the top boxing organisations in Australia, he always said that Nathan could probably be Australian boxing champion if he wanted to, but I never had the desire. I wanted to be a Muay Thai fighter, so I stayed in that realm. But long story short, I travel the world now, and I try to activate people through the energy of Hurricane, which is now obviously Carnage, and give people a taste of reality in kindness, because I'm not hitting anyone in the brain that anyone gets hurt, but I wake them up. It's now called the Carnage activation. I'm activating the energy inside them. I'm activating a piece inside of them I didn't know that existed. And that's to actually step up, step beyond, even if they're not a fighter, even if they're just a business person or just any kind of realm person. I'm not even training fighters, I'm just training people to be better people and activate them to step up, okay? Not to be weak and not to also be too dominantly strong in the sense of arrogance. So I also keep people in line. So that's what I do, but I wanted to talk about it like that because I wanted you to know that this man here, the Hurricane, not just Paul Briggs, the Hurricane Paul Briggs, don't fucking forget it. I don't like to swear, but don't forget it. A lot of people have got short memory spans, okay, in this country. And he's one of the leading fighters that led way before John Wayne Park. He was the man before John Wayne Park. And he'll always be the man in my eyes beyond that time. He was a man he went to Japan before these people were in nappies and was beating people up, winning world titles. He was world champion at 18 years old. That's the youngest world champion I know that's at that level. And of course, has continued on now to be a great man and a great teacher and a mentor for all these people that come through these doors and learn the art of boxing, which comes along with not just the skills of throwing punches, but the mentality of being a warrior. So, I just want to say thank you. All these years later, I'm 42 years old now. I watched him when I was 16. I'm 43 next in a couple of months, so it's been a long journey, 25 years, and we still have respect for each other. I also then had the honor in 2010 for a few years to have Paul come in and coach me. Okay, come in and coach me on the side with my trainer Richard Walsh, coach me on the side, finesse me up. And when I fought Steve McKinnon the second time, I just smoked him with hands. I just boxed his ears off for 5 rounds. Of course, my hard work, yes, but with this man in my corner. So that was a pleasure to have that a part of my journey at the end of my career as well. And we're life friends.
It's crazy. Thank you so much. I've never, I'm speechless and honoured. I know how big you are around the world and in the Muay Thai scene and how well respected as a commentator now as well. And so to have you honour me in that way is incredible, and I thank you for that. The other part of that is there's a mentality, and it's often talked about, it's a conversation I have with many coaches these days, old school coaches, and it's always the thing, the old school versus the new school. Though, I did a thing very recently with a lot of boxing coaches. What could the new school fighter learn from the old school way? And the biggest thing was a lot of people all the coaches spoke about, hard work, dedication, that kind of thing. And you really triggered a thinking, coming from the Muay Thai side of things, which I completely understand. And that is, everything that we did in Muay Thai was about destruction. Every punch that we threw. My hardest thing in transitioning into boxing was the fact that I had to learn how to chip away, not just take my opponent, not just chop the tree down with one hit. Yes. And yet that's what Muay Thai is about, absolute destruction. Every single hit that you throw, you're throwing for absolute complete annihilation. Yes. And it's that thinking and that mentality that the new school fighter can definitely embrace. And so many coaches I speak to these days, and we're just having a conversation, look and just say, man, these They don't make them like they used to, and I know that sounds cliche, but so many new fighters don't like hard work, you know, and don't like the work of actually destroying who's in front of you. I stand in the gym often, you know, I'm like, man, you want to absolutely take you in, and I sound like a sicko sometimes the way I'm talking, and people look at me horrified, and I'm thinking, what?
Yeah, like, why is he so crazy?
Yeah, well, this is how we used to think. I know it's how you used to think.
Yeah.
You enjoy smashing people, you know, in the gym. And it's not about being it's got nothing to do with being a bully.
No.
It's the fact that this is the hurt business. And I think a lot of people miss that in modern society. They miss that in today's fight game. The fact that you know, you want to. I always live from a rule that you know, you want to hit a guy that hard that he never wants to come back.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I brought that from the other grounding that I had outside of the ring, but that's the mentality, isn't it?
It's the mentality, and that's the mentality that I saw in Paul, that I gravitated towards. And I'm not some tough guy that has all these, you know, badass like fights or street fights or anything, you know, but I took that experience into the ring, and I wanted to do exactly what he said, which was to take my opponent out. And I'm actually, the last few years, you know, I was teaching people. I was like, how can I make them feel what I would do in the ring? So, like, you need to elbow someone with bad intentions. That's what I'd say to them. You need to elbow someone with bad intentions. That was just a word to describe how I want them to feel emotionally, to get the energy for their elbow to actually be destructive enough to try and put it through their face. And then I just recently stopped and thought about it more as I've evolved, and I went, you know what, it's actually not that. It's actually not that. It's actually not bad intentions. It's just whatever you see the Carnage doing, whatever you saw the Hurricane doing, that's just what winning looks like.
Mm.
It's all about winning. That's all that matters. I don't really necessarily hate some of my opponents. Some opponents rubbed me the wrong way, and they got a little bit more, like a little bit deeper in. And most opponents were pretty good people, but so it wasn't really bad intentions. It was that's what winning looks like.
Yeah.
That's what winning looks like if you choose this sport, whether it's Muay Thai or boxing, as your life. That's what you need to do. And I said, no, that's not, it's actually not bad intentions. It's just that's what winning looks like. If you're not prepared to do that, it means you're not prepared to be a winner, so you might as well stop.
Yep.
That's another way I just recently put it, but yeah. So amazing.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for dropping in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great to see you.
Great to be back on the Gold Coast, and good to see that there's still people like this man keeping the sport alive here in Australia on the Gold Coast.